Hi everyone, how's it going? So today I'm going to be looking at a video that follows on from a video I did last week that looked at plan B situations for when you can't get in the gym and certain types of strength and hypertrophy training you can do at home. Today I'm going to be looking at plan Bs for speed. So same thing, you might not always be able to get out on the pitch for whatever reason. Maybe it's a holiday, maybe facilities are closed, maybe you don't have team training, but you had a speed session scheduled. So I'm going to look at what you can do in those situations. So just before I forget, I'm going to remind you that for the Matchfit Football Fitness Academy, if you click below, you'll get a special deal. It's usually $49.99. So looking at what we can do, we've broken up these sessions into acceleration, which is going to be shorter distances, so anywhere from 0 to 10 to 20 meters. And then over that, we're going to look at max velocity, so looking at longer distances. How I've broken it down is what we can do. So in the gym or at home, possibly, you can train for coordination, you can train to produce force, you can have context in a drill that relates to the skill we're looking at, and then we have our actual plan B. So for acceleration, what we're going to do for general coordination are A skips. You guys have probably done them before, but it's just a nice proprioceptive exercise. And we're going to have to be aware of where our different limbs are and how different segments of our body are interacting with each other. For horizontal force production, which is key for acceleration, our hips and our glutes is really important for acceleration. We can do broad jumps. Even in a really tight space, you could do 1 rep of broad jump, turn around and do 1 rep back as far as you can. You would only need 2 to 3 meters of space for that. For context, we can do wall drills. So we would be leaning against the wall at a 45-degree angle. We'd be pulling our knee and toe up on one side, and we'd be in a really nice sprinting position that you'd see as sprinters come out the blocks. So what that does is add context for yourself as an athlete. You can feel what it feels like to be in that position, and then that will transfer over to your real life sprinting. Okay? And what is our plan B exercise to tie it all together? Perfect scenario is you can get on a curved treadmill. And the reason why I've highlighted a curved treadmill over a regular treadmill is that on a regular treadmill you might only be able to go up to 16 to 20 kilometers per hour, but it's likely that at your top speed you're going to be able to sprint over that, okay? So maybe not considerably over that, maybe not like 30 kilometers an hour, that would be quite elite, but it's likely that sprinting on a treadmill is going to limit you. And for acceleration, you're not going to be able to get any kind of forward lean whatsoever. You're not going to be able to project your body at the angle you would want to in a game or if you're sprinting normally. So that's why we want to keep away from regular treadmills. What we can do if we don't have a curved treadmill is we can get up on a bike. So what you can do is mimic the force capabilities the force requirements of acceleration. So you can put yourself in a high seat position, so there's only a small amount of knee flexion. You can put a really high resistance, because when we accelerate, we have to overcome inertia if we're in a static position. So we have to work really hard. So by having a high resistance, we mimic that, and we can work at top speed at that resistance, so the fastest speed we can go at that resistance for 3 to 5 seconds, and then we can have 45 to 55 seconds rest. We could do that up to 10 times, and that's going to be able to get fairly close to what acceleration would feel like without actually running, which is what we want to do as best we can. So for acceleration, you've got A skips, broad jumps, wall drills, and then you've got bike intervals or curved treadmill, if you have access to one. More and more commercial gyms do have curved treadmills, so if you're lucky, you might be able to jump on one. So how does that differ for max velocity? So when we're at top speed, imagine a right back might have to sprint the whole field if he's recovering and chasing an attacker. So we're using the same system. So how can we add coordination, vertical force production in this case, and context before we do our plan B? So for coordination, looking at B skips is another variation of skip that most of you guys probably know about and might have done before. So same reason why A skips is in there. We're just going to be looking to have a good proprioceptive knowledge of where the different segments of our body are. Looking at vertical force production, we can do skips for height, or you could do a box hop or a box jump. So a skip for height looks very similar to running, but you only really need a small space for it. So most gyms you can probably do 1 or 2 skips for height before you would have to stop and turn around, but then you can just continue, you can go one direction, you can turn around, you can come another direction. For context, we can do marches in place. At max velocity running, if you look at elite sprinters, it will be you'll see a very upright posture, and you'll see a foot strike that's going downwards, and that's what marches in place can do. So you'll just be standing there with your knee up on top on your front foot. You'll be looking for really powerful, quick switches while keeping that upright posture. So that would what we would do for context. And our plan B again would be either using a curved treadmill or bike intervals. Curved treadmill, you'd be looking to build up to your top speed and try and maintain that over the period of 5 to 10 seconds. If we had to go on a bike, we'd be looking at moderate resistance, so our feet are going to turn over quicker, as that's what happens when we're at max velocity sprinting. We have a higher stride frequency, we take more steps than we do during the acceleration phase. So there's some ways that we can mimic the movements, we can have some coordinative challenges, and we can mirror the force production capabilities and the force production requirements of what we need to do to actually sprint during either acceleration or max velocity. And then you've got your plan B exercises, which is going to help to mirror what you're going to do. So this isn't perfect, it's plan B for a reason. This is not going to be quite as valuable as getting out, going through these exercises, and then bringing it all together with sprinting, with some changes in direction possibly. Maybe you introduce a ball at some times as well. So this isn't what we would go for straight away. Plan B is quite simple and quite self-explanatory. So this is what we do if we can't get outside. What happens if you don't have access to a field? What happens if your plan changes? You can't get to a gym, but you do have access to these things. And the actual plan B isn't something that you would have to do. Say if you didn't have a bike and you didn't have a curved treadmill, you had no space, you could just do the exercises for coordination, force, context, and then what you could do is your regular gym session. You can lift weights that would be relative to the quality you're working on. For acceleration, we think more strength-based exercises relate to that because we have to produce more force in less time to overcome inertia. For max velocity, we need to move things a little bit faster. We don't need quite as much force, but we need to move at higher speeds. So if you couldn't get out and run, you could also do some work in the gym that relates to these qualities. So not perfect plan A, but we want plan B to be as close to plan A as possible. So just before I forget, if you click below, there's going to be a link for the Matchfit Football Fitness Academy. It is usually $49.99, and you'll get a special price if you click below. Cheers, everyone.